Hey everyone, and a very happy new year to you all. Wishing you well this year, and welcome to the newly branded Three Wise Potatoes podcast. Um, how have you been? How have you two been? How was your holidays? How's everything going? I think we're 3 weeks into the new year now, just about.
Yeah, almost 3 weeks.
Going good, eh? Can't really complain. It's been a gradual start to the year. Thankfully, it's not been the straight into the shitstorm kind of year it was last year. How about you, Rich?
Mine's been the other way. I literally went from the frying pan into the fire from last year into this year.
Jeez.
But yeah, good, all good. Been well, and you, Yash?
I've been quite good as well. We closed off last year quite well. And we're hoping in this episode to give it that fresh start and to give it, just inject some life into this year. And hopefully this episode will be able to guide any one of you to whatever it is that you're looking to go toward. So I guess it's like time to revisit your plans for the year. And if you don't, we're here to help you, to get whatever it is that you want, this year for yourself. So last year we did a year in review. Now we are about to undertake a year ahead. Why do you think it's important to set something like this up?
Good.
So I was never the person that always did New Year's resolutions and set their year up and did all of that stuff. So as much as all the listeners, I'm also part of this new journey, right? But I do think that I'm coming to the realization that it's a very nice way of setting up your year for yourself so that you have something to aim for, target, go after, do for the year. Because most of the time, I never really used to just plan stuff. I just do whatever I thought was the right thing to do at the time and target whatever I wanted to or whatever goals I had. I never wrote them down. I was just like, this is the goal that I have right now, and that's what I'm going to do until I get to that goal. But by structuring it, it seems like there's a lot more stuff that I can add that I never thought about before. But that also allows me to do stuff with my time that I never thought I should have done before. Like before, a lot of people go and come home and then they watch shows and Netflix and whatnot, But I think now that I have stuff that I've decided on what I want to do, right? Maybe I haven't put it into a structured timetable and all of these things yet, but I know that there's maybe 10 things that I want to do, right? When I'm sitting not doing one of those 10 things, right? Or doing something else, and then I'm like, okay, I have some free time now. I don't just go and put Netflix on. I actually go and focus on one of the things that I have that I want to complete this year, which I find is something that it helps. Personally, for me, it makes me sleep better at night because it feels like I've accomplished something for the day. If I can say it that way. Does that help a little bit? But it also gives me an idea that I'm moving forward. I'm adding to my life in a way.
Yeah, I like that.
I don't know. Yeah.
I was much the same, especially in my 20s. It was very much go the way the wind blows kind of thing, Didn't really have hard goals and stuff. There was stuff I wanted to do, of course, and I would work towards that. But I never really held myself accountable to it. It was kind of, I'll do it when I do it. Very flexible, change my mind a lot. I don't know, I had 4 or 5 different career paths when I was still going through campus. And that seemed to carry through in my 20s, where I never really fixed myself onto any particular thing. So you get lots of life experience, but you don't achieve a great deal. And now, as I've sort of grown older and matured a little bit, there are very specific things that I want out of life. And I know that if I don't set some sort of structure, I'm not going to have those things. I need to the structure helps me hold myself accountable, and it helps you manage your time a little bit better. Well, not a little bit better, quite a lot better, actually. Especially for me, anyway. But yeah, the structuring life, especially at this age, makes a world of a difference.
So when you say you structure your life, do you mean like on a daily basis? Do you like set hours per day, or do you like, this is what I want to do this week, and of this week, this is what I'm going to do on these 3 days, and this is what I'm doing on those 3 days? Is it like a macro plan, or is it a micro plan, or is it a macro and a micro plan?
I really did try the micro time boxing thing, right? Where I said, okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to wake up at this time, I'm going to do this at this time, and I'm going to do that at that time, and I'm going to eat lunch at this time. Doesn't happen.
Just goes to hell.
Unfortunately, yeah, it just completely goes out the toilet.
Okay.
It's partly because sometimes I just don't have the discipline to do that, and I want flexibility. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe it's not a discipline thing. Maybe I want more flexibility in my day, because I don't want to have to stop working on a particular project after like 2 hours, because sometimes I'm really into it and I'd rather just push through and finish it than leave it
Sure.
for the next day, than
Makes sense.
sticking to my time box.
Yeah.
Sometimes also, like, working in advertising, things change so quickly. Like, your day can be going very smoothly, and then at 2 o'clock there's a shitstorm, and it's
Yeah.
all hands on deck, and you kind of have to push everything that you had planned for that day. And you're basically sitting there. We've had cases where there was a social media crisis, and we worked. It happened. We noticed it at 11. Right? It happened earlier that day, but we only picked it up at 11 o'clock in the morning, and the
Okay.
whole team only sort of clocked off around 3-4 o'clock the next morning, because
Oh,
it was that
Jesus.
much of it was that chaotic. We had to do crisis
Yeah.
management, put out statements, a whole lot of stuff. So that micromanagement of time doesn't really work very well for me, because A, situations can change, and B, I like, if I'm really in the zone with a particular project, I'd rather just push through there and not have to just stop and then start something else.
Yeah.
But what I do is I have an action list of things I want to do in a particular day, and I write down how long those things should take, and I basically look at whether or not it's doable given the day I have. So that's kind of how I get through my list, is I write down times for each thing and how long each thing should take. And then in terms of the macro view, there's things that I want to do, definitely stuff I want to do on a weekly basis, like things I want to implement. And there's things that need to be implemented by the end of the month.
Okay.
You
I'm
want an example?
understanding. No. I understand exactly what you're saying. My only other question is that how much pressure does that put on you? Because like, if you don't complete something, are you like okay with it, or you like? Because I'm one of those people, and I think I'm one of those people that if I set a goal and I don't achieve it, I don't get upset, but I'm like, I feel like I pressure myself to continue, like, pushing that agenda until it's done. You know?
Do you like that happens?
It depends on what I'm doing. If it's something I enjoy, then yeah, it's fine. If it's something that I enjoy, right, then I'll be even more annoyed that I haven't completed it. But if it's something that I don't enjoy, then I sort of sometimes want to just be like, it's fine, I give up. I don't really care about this thing so much.
Okay, I get you.
You know?
So for me, if I don't achieve that particular thing, I don't necessarily beat myself up about it as such, but I look at it as essentially a loss. So if I don't do something that I know is the reason I've got these things that I want to implement and do, is because it's going to benefit me in the future. And if I don't do that, I look at it as it's going to hamper me in the future. It's not going to affect me right now, because current me doesn't really care, but future me is going to be pissed. So I don't want to piss that guy off. Let's at least make things better for me in the future, kind of thing.
Okay, I understand. Because I would think, yes, your schedule's a little bit more rigid than what. Because mine's fairly open, right?
Yeah.
And Dean is a little bit more rigid than me, but I feel like yours is even more rigid than both of us.
Yes, it is. Throughout our entire last year, it's my life is this line has been repeated many times. It's very structured. And I like
but
it
then
that
how
way.
do you deal with the same issues that we're talking about?
Yeah, so remember last year I mentioned as well that even though like life comes in the way of things, right? Dean had a perfect example of that, where they sat till like 3 a.m. and do things. Like, life comes in the way of things, and you have to be flexible enough to say, okay, I didn't meet what I planned to do today, but at least I got this one thing done, and it could be a simple thing as well. I remember saying last year as well, no 0 days, where even the simplest thing as making your bed is a win. And even if you didn't make any of the targets that you planned for that day, at least you did one thing, and that's a win for the day, and that's your no zero day. So I view it as that. And so my day is very structured. Get up in the morning, alarm rings once. I don't put it to snooze. I'm up. I do what I need to do in that brief morning period, and I plan my day. So every day I need to do 3 things. Yes, work is one of them. Improving, like let's just say, learning is one of them as well, and working on our business projects. That's the third thing that I need to do every single day. And as best as I can, I try and make all 3 things happen. There's no particular start and end times. There's no particular time slices. It can be half an hour, 15 minutes, or whatever. I'm very flexible on that because, as I just mentioned, life obviously has its own way as well. But at least I need to get some of those things, done for myself.
Sure.
So 3 main things planned for the day, and I don't try and make any plans than 3, because I found that the more you try and cram into a day, the more you get flustered and the more you might not get focused on what you really want to do. You'll have too many things that are breaking your focus. So for me, it's a very small list of 3. I know there are like help gurus out there who say 5 things and things like that, but 3 works for me.
Those 3 things that you're talking about aren't small things. Right?
No,
like work is not a small thing. Work can be a good 6 hours of your day.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
right. And then you learning something could be another 4 hours of your day.
Yeah. I mean, my day starts at 6:30 in the morning and ends at 12 in the evening. So that I have a lot of hours to work with as well.
So you only sleep for 6.5 hours.
Yes.
Well, that's assuming he falls asleep at 12 o'clock when he stops working.
Yeah, I've been trying this new thing by Mel Robbins, where she guarantees you get into sleep. Your deep
really?
sleep. Yeah.
I'd like that. Tell me about that.
I love her procrastination stuff, but tell me about the sleep stuff.
Yeah, I'll send it to you guys. Right? It's just how to guarantee you sleep within the first 5 minutes.
Listeners want to know about that as well. Tell them.
I only saw it today, and I need to just reinvestigate it and redo it again.
Useless.
And I need to understand it for myself again.
Tell me about new stuff.
Yeah, I thought he practiced this thing already.
Yeah,
no, I'm not an expert, so I just learned about it. So that's what I will be practicing as well.
Well, we'll know by Friday if it works.
Yeah, true.
No, I don't believe that, because you see, Yash is very structured, right? So him falling asleep is probably, he falls asleep within the first 30 minutes anyway.
He tells himself, I'm going to fall asleep at 12.
He
will fall asleep at 12.
And then his body shuts down, right?
Yeah.
Unlike me, who was like, I'm going to go sleep now, and then 2 hours later, it's like, oh, okay, I'm about to fall asleep.
Yeah, like the plan, you're in bed at 10 and your brain's like, really? Because I'm only starting to wake up now.
Yeah.
And then your blanket like, no, but it's too hot. Oh my God.
It is too warm sometimes these days.
Hey, but
these days especially, it's been madness.
Fan is doing nothing.
You have an air conditioner.
No, not in my room. I don't.
First world problems.
Not in my room. I don't.
Go sleep in the lounge then.
No, I'm not gonna go sleep in the lounge because there's aircon there.
I would.
Listeners, this is first world problems right here. Fortunately.
No, dude. Everybody has these problems, okay? This is a fan in the room. It doesn't work.
A lot of people that don't have the problem of, my fan's not working and I don't want to use the aircon in the lounge.
True.
But ducting is expensive, bro. You know how expensive ducting is?
I'm sure it is.
One of those things. But yeah, so I like the idea of us having that, but I'm more inclined, like, I know that I like Dean's way of doing things, but I'm more inclined to do it Yash's way, because I feel like with Yash's way, it's like a game. You get to tick the boxes as you go each day.
Yeah, it's like checkpoints.
Right? Yeah, you like gamify your day. I enjoy that. Like sometimes what I do while I'm like processing stuff, or while I'm like, say for example, I'm running a study for a design or whatever it is, and I've got time to waste, right? Because I'm waiting for it to complete, right? So what I used to do was I used to play games, right, on my phone, and you know nowadays games, they don't. Everything is about completing stuff on a daily basis. That's how the game keeps you addicted, and that's how the game keeps you there. But I enjoy that because it's like it requires consistent effort. Now all I need to do is do the same thing on a daily basis for my life, right?
Yes, agreed.
Right. So the idea is to do that, but I think I like Yash's way of doing it. I just feel like I'll end up doing Dean's way because Yash's way is just too hard, right?
I mean, I've built the habit, right? So let me give you a schedule of it. So like I said, I wake up at 6:30. Excuse me. And then it's obviously shower and all of that stuff. Then it's morning gratitude, and then it's work. Then
So the first thing you do is shower. You don't do any stuff before that.
I mean, yes, I do have a mini gratitude just as I get up.
Okay, so
you make your bed.
Up,
You wake up, make your bed. That's your first win for the morning. Then mini gratitude, shower, then big gratitude, and then you can start work. You know, your normal work, 9 to 5, 8 to whatever, 8 to 4 even, whatever. And then it's studying time, so advancing me in a particular direction. Then it's business adventures till whatever time really, reading for an hour, and then sleep. So that's basically my day.
And you read on a book, right? You actually read a book.
Yes. So
you don't read on your phone or your tablet.
Initially, when I did start this routine, I was so I did buy ebooks and I did read ebooks like that. But yeah, so I have a nice library now. So it's not a library, but just a storage area for books. And I find just immersing myself in that environment just helps me calm down. So I do the reading just before I go to sleep, because any media that you consume before you go to sleep keeps your brain active.
Exactly.
So I don't consume media before I go to sleep. The books act as a way of calming myself down, to bring myself down to a place where I can actually relax, and which is why I do the books at the end. Right. And which is why I switched from like reading on a screen to reading an actual book. Yeah.
Which is why I asked that question.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that, and I think Dean was telling me this before. If you keep looking at screens and stuff, you should ideally not have a screen in front of you before you sleep. You should have like an hour downtime before you go to sleep.
Yeah.
The problem is that we like all live on social media, right?
Very true. And it's addictive. Let's just call it that. It's an addiction and it's a drug. Yeah.
But I like the idea. I like the idea. So what you would do, right, is you would do that on a daily basis, right? But now, if you can gamify your day to have that every day, and then you can actually say, I have no 0 days, because you set out those 5 things that you want in a day, and you can tick them off yourself. So you can actually gamify your day, which makes your day like more fun to do if you're that type of person.
I mean, you also mentioned that you'd like to do things and have to feel accomplished. I mean, the feeling of accomplishment and fulfillment, that you moved yourself just even a little bit every day. And then at the end of the year, you look back and you'll say, okay, damn, how far did I come by doing these little changes every day? And
then with you, like, say for example, like Dean was like, okay, he likes to finish something before he moves on to the next. I feel like after the 8 hours of work that you do, or the 6 hours of work that you do, that's it. Like, you close the book on that as soon as you hit that hours.
It's done, right?
Half an hour period within.
Yeah.
Whether you have stuff to do or not.
I mean, for me, like there's this thing by Jim Rohn. You have to work harder on yourself than you do at work.
I like that.
That means you're not
only Jim Rohn had to say that, everybody says that.
Yeah, I mean, you need to be working harder on yourself than you at your job. A 9 to 5 is just a 9 to 5 means to an end. Like, I complete it, and then everything else after is for me to improve myself.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
done with the questions now.
yeah, no, it's cool. It's a nice conversation, that one. At the beginning of every year, people always make these resolutions and plans and things like that. Um, and people kind of don't follow through. We all hear that you have to take action, in your life and not just let it be. Why is it? Why do you think then that people don't follow the step or don't follow through? So they'll make the plan but not follow through.
I think a lot of people set unrealistic resolutions. A lot of people don't even understand what the word resolution means. To be resolute, it would be a clue, right? It's something that must be done. It's immovable in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
But they set these grand expectations of themselves, and then it becomes too difficult to keep up, and that's why it falls through.
What is a good way to set that resolution then, Dean?
I don't bother with resolutions. I use building blocks.
Okay, so you break it down.
Yeah, I mean, I don't try and set some. I mean, I have big goals. Obviously, a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But I look at the goal and look at the pieces that need to be implemented for the goal to be achieved. And like the building blocks are very achievable. Whereas a whole resolution, also like if your resolution is to, let's just say, build a house in 2022, you can start, but then you don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know what that thing looks like. But if your resolution is in January, I'm going to build a foundation, that you can see happening. And then, February, I'm going to put one up, build a wall. Then every month I build, another 3 walls, and then I start filling up the house and I put up the roof. You can do it, but you need to structure it in such a way that you can see it being achieved in a particular given time.
Okay.
No, I agree with that. It's. I think last year we mentioned that you can't have just a really big goal, because that big goal obviously scare you away from doing it in the end anyway.
Yeah, but you get detached from big goals.
Yes, I mean, like you said, it's too big, right?
It's not even that it scares some people away. It just becomes something that's in the future. It doesn't feel like it's achievable. It doesn't feel like now. So you might not be scared of it, but it might just seem like, it's somewhere in the future.
True. Okay. So one of the steps I think that a person needs to take then is to really decide what they want to do. And I think there's a word, there's a key word. It says get specific. Tom Bilyeu obviously says that in a lot of his talks. He says, be specific about what you want. And in your lives, and well, in listeners' lives as well, how did you get specific, and what do you think the listeners can do to get specific on what their goals are for the year, for themselves, I guess?
Good.
Okay, so what I did was I thought of my life as like there's 10 things in my life that I want or avenues in my life which I see as things that are part of my life, right? So like friends is one of them, my spiritual side is one of them, work is one of them. 10 of those things, right? I think that there's 10 in my life, right? I can't remember all 10, but I wrote them down, right? Or I wrote them on my phone or whatever it was. And then under each one, and when you say get specific, what I did was I specifically said, this is one thing that I want in this aspect. This is another thing that I want in this aspect. And I tried to label at least 5 things in each thing, under each heading, right? But also, I thought about it on a grander scale. Like Dean was saying, don't make it something so big that you can't target it, right? I wrote specific stuff, but I made each one of them fairly simple and easy to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the target is to try and complete all of them within a year. And I didn't make it so that all of them weren't completable in a year. I made them so that if I worked really hard, I could complete all of them in 6 months, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the idea is to do as many of them as you can. And I've never been one of those people that's like, if I don't complete it, right? If I don't complete the whole list of, I don't know what's it? 10 times 5 is 50. If I don't do all 50 things, right? I'm not going to die and cry about it. I'm just going to look at the ones that I didn't do and be like, okay, they either weren't a priority or I couldn't do them or I ignored them, right? And then which one of those 3 they are, and then I can obviously rejuggle them. So that's the way I looked at it. And I think we discussed this before. I thought there were 12, but when I actually did them, it turned out to be 10, right?
Yeah.
So I found it an easy way to, one, get specific, but also do what Dean does, like break it down into small elements, right? And these are the things that I want to do. And it's not hard stuff, right? Um, for, I don't know, let's say for learning, right? I was like, I want to do this course by the end of the year, and I think the course, just as an example, let's just call it course A, right? I want to do this course by the end of the year, and I know for a fact that course is probably 8 weeks. So if I take that course on, right, and I do it in 8 weeks, I mean, what's 8 weeks out of a whole year? It's nothing, right? But that's what you tick off one thing in your box, and it's all simple stuff like that. It's not stuff that you can't do. So if you do that, I feel personally you'll grow, but it's all small things that you're doing together that add up, right? And I feel that's the way I want to see it go. And if I do all 50 things, I should be fairly happy with the way the year went. I mean, all of these things are progressive. You can't do everything in one year.
That's very
So
true.
that was what I thought of doing, and that's the way I want to do it this year. But obviously, the other people have different ideas, right? Dean?
Yeah. So mine, I actually have there's 5 things that I want to get done this year, but I wrote down what the components of those, what the makeup of those 5 things are. What are the components that I need to have in place for those 5 things to be achievable? And I looked at how long they would take and what I would need to do at what intervals, and then broke it down like that. So the stuff that I have to do in January, the stuff that I've got to do in Feb, and I've pretty much charted progress up until like June, and then I've got to reevaluate. So that's kind of how I structured it.
Okay. So you did like a half year type of thing.
It's a bit like a project plan. It sounds a little bit lame, but it's something new that I'm trying this year, just to see. And yeah, look, it's 2 weeks in. I could tell you that it's the greatest thing ever, but at the end of January, it'll be like, oh, I decided not doing it anymore.
But I mean,
I'm trying it.
That's life, right?
Sure.
That's life.
Yeah, like I just want to see how it works for me. Because I mean, it might work great or it might be terrible for me because my personality just does not suit this sort of thing. I don't actually know.
Yeah.
But 2 weeks in, I'm on track, but it's only been 2 weeks. So.
But it's like you're doing this for the first time as well, like me.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's cool. That's really cool.
Okay, I mean, your life is a project anyway, right? So
I love that. Your life is a project. That should be on a T-shirt.
It most likely is. I mean, you can put that on our TikTok.
No, don't scare me, please. My life is not a project. My life is to be enjoyed.
I mean, you can make it not so formal. There are other things that you can use for that. But I mean, for the lack of a better word, a project plan for your life. I mean, I think it's pretty cool that you're trying that out.
Well, let's see how it works. We'll see what we look like in June.
I mean, so with any of the things that you guys chose, was there a specific process that you used to decide what to undertake? So let me preface that before you answer. So for myself, when I undertake, when I want to decide what I need to do for the year, I take a walk on a beach. And it has to be a beach that extends for kilometers at a time. And I'll tell you why. So I start from one point of the beach and I walk until the point that I can only hear the waves, the wind blowing, and any wildlife in any particular trees rustling, right? And at that point, when everything else is, I guess, blotted out, I ask myself the question, what do I want for the year? So it's like a sort of a meditative state, where I just block out everything, and just honest answers come up, and then that's it, right? So that's how that's the process I use to decide what I'm going to do. Yeah, do you guys have something like that?
No.
In a way, yes.
I mean, I do that to clear my mind, so to gain that clarity of what to actually undertake for the year. That's it, and that just removes everything that's not important or that's going to be hazy and isn't going to move me forward.
Good. How do you go about it?
So I do it in a similar way. Okay, so I view what you did as you've removed all inhibition and distraction from your decision-making process, right?
Yeah.
So you said, listen, I don't have any preconceived notions of anything that I that's going to block me or anything that's going to enhance me, right? And there's nothing to sway my mind, right? And now when I ask my mind the questions, I will come up with answers, right?
Yeah.
So I do that in a similar way, except I think I've explained this to you before. I run myself into ruin before I make those decisions. So I will empty the tank completely, right? So you don't become emotionally devoid, right? But you tire yourself out to the point where whatever it's like, when someone says quickly, don't think about it, just answer the question. And
Yeah.
then they ask you a question. And then you have to answer like snap judgments, right? I sort of do that. I get myself not tired to the point, but get myself to a point where you are not driven by your emotion, your mind, and all of that stuff. For me, the easiest way to do that is just to have a really, really long day, right? But also a really good day, because when you're at the end of a really long and really good day, what happens is that you've completely emptied your tank. You've had as much fun as you could possibly have, and there's no more emotions left to actually sway you. And I find that that's probably the best way that I react to stuff. And that's when I'll sit and I'll actually make a list of everything that I want to do.
So the both of you actually take different processes, but you essentially strip away all influence so that you're just left with yourself.
I found it, essentially I found that works for me, and Yash found that works for him, because the whole idea is to ask yourself, what is it that you want to achieve, right? And you'll always get swayed by all the millions of things that are running around in your head, whatever emotions you're going through at the time. Like they say, don't go to sleep angry or whatever. It's like that, right? So you don't want to be distracted by anything, and that's how you make your decisions at the end of the day.
Sure, I don't do that at all.
I mean, everyone has their own process, really.
I don't know what I have is a process at all, because the things that I know that I want, I get what you're saying with the whole, there's a lot of things that influence you. Like, I will change if I think about the car that I want, that changes sometimes weekly, it sometimes changes monthly, sometimes I want classic cars, sometimes I want a roadster, sometimes I want to buy like a V10 M5 for some strange reason. I have no idea why, but I was like, I want it. But then I was like, I want a car. I don't need a new car, and it's not going to further my life anymore. It's going to give me a little bit of joy, sure, but it's not really going to benefit me in a massive way. So the things that I write down from my yearly achievable type things are all things that I know will progress me without question. So if like health is always something that is on that list, every single year health is on the list, right? Whether it's to do with procedures that I need to go for, or whether it's to do with healthier eating or drinking more water or whatever that is. But there's things that I need to do from a health point of view, and health is a broad category that's always on the list, and there's progress that needs to be made in that area. Another one would be career. There's always going to be changes and shifts in where my career might be going, but I need to have an idea of what that needs to look like by the end of the year. But that's kind of how I set out those targets. Is I look at it, the main question is this thing going to progress me, yes or no? And if not, then it doesn't go on the list. It just goes into the wants category. But if it is going to definitely progress my life and make things better for me, then it goes into the I need to make this happen category.
Okay, so I have a question about that, because for me, what I was explaining is my list of wants for the year, right? Whereas what you're doing is a complete list of needs. You basically said, you've looked at all the emotions and said, all my emotions say I want either a classic car or an M5 or this or that or that. Then your mind has come in and said, no, we don't need any of that. We just need something that takes us from A to B, right? So I try to literally remove both the mind and the emotion from the equation. I want a snap judgment based on my gut, because my gut for me is always going to be the thing that tells me what I want and need the most. And all of my whole list is a list of wants. My list has nothing to do with needs on it, whereas your list is a complete list of needs, right? And not a list of wants. So because remember, you said anything that's a want, I put it on the side.
Yeah.
Right? So
Well, remember, people define wants and needs very differently. Because I could just as easily
sure.
say healthy living is something I want to do,
Sure.
and
But I
then
mean,
put it on the maybe list.
the way you're viewing it is that these are the things that I need to do,
Yes.
right?
So I'm
But
terming like the
yeah,
healthy living thing.
yeah,
So there are a lot of
yeah,
people that say I want to live healthier and then kind of get to
yeah,
it. Whereas this is
yeah,
it's a non-negotiable for me.
yeah. Because it's let's say we took this as an assignment and we both did it, right? You and I basically went in opposite directions.
Yeah, my list would be very
went
short.
Yeah,
compared to
because I went in opposite directions. My list is a complete list of wants. Everything on my list, I don't have to do any of them, right? And I can still have a decent year, right? But I want to do all of them, right? Because I thought that's the whole point, right? For me, it was like, isn't this a year of like these are the things that I want to happen in my year. So these are the things that I'm going to like target for. All the other shit that I do is just the as you say, the foundation of the house. I'm gonna do those things anyway. You know?
Okay, I
So
get what you're saying. Yeah.
that's how I saw it. And that's how I thought. I'm not saying that we had an assignment and we both did it like one path and one way. What I'm saying is that I viewed it completely differently. Because
Isn't that the wonderful thing about this, though? Is like
it
the
is.
perspective.
Yeah, because we were talking about resolutions, right? And for me, like I also agree with you. I don't like the word. I don't know if it was you that said it or Yash that said it, but I don't like the word resolution. I don't like the word resolution because there's nothing that can be resolute about what's happening in 2 weeks' time, right? With COVID is the ideal example of that, right? Literally the ideal example of that. But for me, it was like I'm listening to Dean, and everything I'm hearing Dean say is like he has to do this and he has to do this. I'm thinking my list has none of the shit that I have to do. So, like, do I still need to do those things as well, and then add all the other things that I'm doing to, because it changes the ball game quite a lot. But I still think that it's relatively achievable.
Um, so I get your point on your wants and separating from the needs.
Yeah.
So what made you go from? What made you?
Well, wait.
Decide you're
Before we
going
go
to
there, before we go there, the best, I think, a good marker is to find out what you did.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
then I also understand, because I think you said that you only had 3 things that you wanted to do last year.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
Yeah. And Dean saying that he has 5 things that he wants to do this year.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I have like 50.
Yeah. No. So with me as well, it's what's once again very similar, kind of similar to Dean. What's moving me forward, and what do I really, really, really? So it's once again, it's a need, it's not a want. So I stray down that path, and ultimately I asked myself that honest question, and I came up with 3 things that I really need to accomplish this year. I really need in my life this year.
Okay.
So I mean that's how it is for me.
But what we can establish is that when you really strip it down, you have very few needs, but you have a lot of wants.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. I mean, the wants are desires and stem from, I guess, emotions. So which, I mean, Prash just mentioned he doesn't take into account the mind or the emotions aspects.
I try not to.
Yeah, no, of course you try not to. But I mean, with most things in life, because we're emotional beings, a lot of things stem from emotions themselves.
Of course, yeah.
Physical. Dean mentioned he wants to be physically fit. Physically fit.
I said healthy.
Physically fit.
Fit is a broad term.
Sorry, I was just
be healthy.
I was just mimicking King Julian there for a moment.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Excuse me, everyone. He wants to be physically fit. But does that stem from an emotion?
No, it actually stems from family history. So there's rampant cholesterol in my family, diabetes. Okay. It's like everyone in the family has it like pre-installed. We just have to get an activation code at some point in our lives. So that's a morbid joke. But essentially, looking at my family history, yeah, I mean, it is right. Like my family history is a little frightening. So, fortunately for me, none of those things have manifested yet, touch wood, and I would like to put off getting my activation code for it if possible. So I would like to be a healthy, active 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60-year-old, not dependent on chronic medication at that time, if I can help it.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, that stands, like you just said, right? So,
this is an act of self-preservation, is what it is. So that's what's happening here.
But do you think that there's anything wrong when if things stem from emotions?
No, I don't, because there are things on my list that are emotionally driven. Those are, I'm not going to share them because they're quite private. But the reason why I put them on the list is because every year, without fail, that category is in my mind, and it's got serious emotional value to me, and it affects my emotional state. Mm-hmm. And I want to put myself in a good emotional state, and I want to work towards something that makes me emotionally happy. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to feel like there's anything. I don't want to have emotional lack for that, for lack of a better term. So I want to be emotionally happy. So I want to do things that make me emotionally happy.
Well, that's really well put. I think that's a nice way to govern it as well.
Yeah. Agreed. So I guess if you guys don't mind, let's actually do one right now, just to give the people an example of what our process is to
individually
get something. Yeah. I mean, we can. I mean,
does it have to be brand new, or can we use one that's existing?
I mean, you can use one existing, one that you did last year. If you don't want to give anything away, that's cool with me.
I didn't do anything last year.
You crafted the art of pizza. Is what you did.
Dude.
No, but you see, hold on. That's something. Those are the things that I do on a yearly basis. So I don't do stuff. I don't plan things. I'm just like, okay, this looks cool. Let's go do this, and then I'll spend 3 months doing that. And it's born out of a willingness to go in that direction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so for the listeners, can we just paint a picture here? Because this man, the sheer bloody mindedness of this man, he was hell-bent on coming up with the best pizza, and we can verify that it is, right? Mm-hmm. He tested like 50,000 different recipes, like ratios of water and it was worth it because yes,
imported flowers.
We stuffed our faces. We were waddling after that, right? But it was delicious.
It's the best
guys.
It's just the best way. Yeah.
Just this year, I'm not only gluten free, I'm carb free here as well.
That's a you problem, not a me problem. I'm still eating good pizzas.
As in, you don't eat carbohydrates.
He's happiness free is what he
is.
Zero
carbs now.
You can't not have carbohydrates.
Well, I'm not going to have the common carb sources.
So you're going for complex carbs. You're going for complex carbs.
No, I'm not even having complex carbs. No rices, no grains, no.
Isn't that like okay? I don't know.
I'm putting my body into ketosis. Let's just say.
You can't live in
you're going on a keto diet.
But
high-fat diet.
No, but you can't live in ketosis.
No, I'm not going to live in ketosis, but I need to do it for a particular reason. Well, yeah.
No, that's fine. I mean, I understand getting.
Anyway, I'm just throwing it out there as an accompaniment to my already limited grocery list.
Yeah, so you basically just gonna end up buying olives at some point.
Too much salt content. You will retain water.
I don't understand all the science behind it. I understand ketosis quite well, right? But you're not intermittent fasting, right?
No.
Okay, so you're going into ketosis, but you're not ever going to come out of it.
I probably will.
Do you have cheat days?
No cheat days. 0 cheat days for me.
Oh Lord.
No, he doesn't do cheat days because it's like for him. You saw his daily his daily
true, very true.
You saw his daily program. Where do you think a cheat day is gonna come in there? It's like never gonna happen.
Fair enough.
No, I mean, so I've given myself 3 months to a particular target. So I have a particular target.
Yash wants washboard abs. That's my bet.
No. Yash wants what's it? He wants like blocks.
Grater. He wants a grater. He must shred cheese on his abs. That's what he wants.
Just I hope you've managed the science of it. Like you know what you should be eating.
Stay safe.
Yeah. No. I do.
Right? It has deficiency impacts at some point.
No, of course it does.
I'm sure you've done.
If it's not balanced at all, you're screwed. Let's just say.
I'm sure you've done your homework, right?
Yeah.
Yes, viewers. Yash is quite pedantic about research. Don't just decide you're going to do ketosis one day.
Is that one of
Do
your
your
three
research.
things?
And it's not one of my three things, not the actual really three things, but this is
No, but
further
you see now,
another item.
you see that raises a question in my mind because
Mm.
you've planned this, you've done homework on it, right?
Yeah.
You know what you want to do. It's not a small term thing. It's not like 2 weeks. It's 3 months, right? But this is not one of the three things that you want out of your year, because that for me is also confusing. Because for me, if I'm going to plan something for a whole year, whether or not it finish it in 6 months or I finish it in 2 months or I
You
finish
should
it in
incorporate everything that you get doing
my
in the year.
my thing is that if I'm going to plan something, I'm going to plan everything, right? And every aspect of what I want to envision for the year. It's like for me, what I did was I did a vision board, right? I
You'll
did a
beat that
full-on
out.
vision board, right? What I did was I did a vision board, and I said
Yeah.
these are all the things that I want to see, even if I don't
I
see
like
it in
that. I
this.
think you should do vision boards. Vision boards are great.
So I've always been a vision board person, right? So, but that's the thing about me. I don't do stuff in time periods. I do vision boards because I know that it's going to come, right? It's a matter of how long it takes and how much effort I put, but also how it pans out, right? And when you say, I've got 3 things that I want to do this year, and this ketosis thing that I'm doing is not one of them, then I'm like, okay, so you have 3 planned things that you're going to actively put immense amount of mental effort into, right?
Correct. Yes.
And physical effort into. But
Yeah.
there's other stuff that you're doing at the same time, which you haven't taken into account, which are side projects, which for me is like the pizza thing.
Correct. Yeah. So I don't count them as the main things because they're not the things that when I honestly ask myself the question, is it going to really help me move forward in that life? Like, I mean, you all know what I love. I can stay the same way. I'm happy with that. But in order to move myself, just a little bit further as a side project, I'm happy to do it as well.
Yeah, but then that's for me. That's like a side mission complete in the game.
Side quests are important. Okay, side quests are important. Your XP points.
Side quests are important. I mean, side quests are important.
Why is that not on your list of things to do? Because
so here's the thing, right? So
the reason why I'm asking all of these questions is because I'm like one of the listeners. I don't have a plan. First time I've done a plan is the first time I'm doing this plan. Right? So any question I would have, they would have.
Okay, so
right?
I've always had a meal plan. I've always followed my meal plan. I've always exercised certain way, certain time, every day.
Your life is too hard. Okay.
It's not, I mean, dude, I've built it up such that it is what it is now, right? And it's just a routine, and it's just, I think, muscle memory now, for lack of a better term. It just happens organically. So I said, okay, I've been on this meal plan for a long period. Let's change it up and let's move forward. I've been on this exercise plan for a fair amount of time. Let's change it up and let's move forward. I don't see it as me having another plan, another side quest. It's just me adjusting things that were already part of my life, and trying something else now.
He's doing a software update.
That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I think
this is just a patch, right?
Okay,
because
so
the existing software took him as far as it could. These are just patches.
So that makes sense. You've got this underlying. What you've done is you started off with 50 things, and you did all the 50 things, and now the 50 things have become part of your life. And anything you add now is just like tweaks and additions and other stuff that you wanted to do.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
That makes sense. So you like expert level, and I'm like beginner level.
No, I wouldn't say I'm expert level. I would say I'm on. There's 10 steps.
Speaking,
let's just say there's 10 steps.
Level.
I'm on step 1. Maybe
we never said you Ronaldinho God level. We said expert. Okay.
You're not the sorcerer supreme, but you can do some basic magic.
Avada Kedavra. No, I failed at that. No,
you're not Dumbledore level yet. Okay.
He's never used that spell, by the way. Just
true.
As far as we know.
Yeah, but that's I guess that's that one simple thing that I have for me going forward. But I mean that's not one of the ones that I discuss anyway. We all have health goals, right?
Okay, back to us doing an example.
Yeah, sorry. So I've had a project on a back burner since I think 2017. and it was quite important for me back then to finish it. But certain things happened in life, and that project went astray. That particular something had a very big purpose and a very big meaning. And I needed to complete it. So every year since then, I've been doing little things and just haven't been, taking it to the finish line. I guess now I was like, okay, it's just a lot of emotional baggage that I probably didn't deal with, and something I need to complete now and just put an end to. And when it's done, it's done. So that is one of the things that I'm going to be here. And it is a 3D printing project that I need to undertake. It had a very big purpose. So whilst listeners out there, it might seem like just building something, there was a very specific, meaningful purpose. So that is one of the things that I've over the next few months. And how do I now, go about doing this and making strides toward it? As Dean alluded to, because it's such a big thing, I've broken it up into smaller elements. So there's different parts of this thing that I can do now, which I am doing. And I plan to do a little every day. So I'll dedicate an hour every single day to moving this thing forward. And by the end of 3 months, that is when I plan to complete it. So I was very specific about what I needed to do, very specific about the plan, very specific about the breakdown of the plan, how I'm going to do it, and I have an end date. So it's important that you have an end date. It's important that you have particular milestones along the way. It's important that you break it down, because then it becomes achievable in small chunks. I think we alluded to that last year.
Yeah.
So that's one of my things that I need to complete over the next 3 months as well. If that can give you an idea, listeners, of an example of go about doing something.
Okay, I like that. I think it's a nice way to whatever it is. I think you don't even have to link that. The way you structured it is just like you can link that to anything that you want to do, because you've given yourself a target. You know what you want to do, and if you spend that much time on it every day and you break it down, then you'll get there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how you eat an elephant. I think that's
exactly
the best way you can pretty much do anything that you want to do.
Yeah.
I think that just makes me think about all the stuff that I need to do and how I can break them down even further.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's one example from my life. I guess there's others as well. The second one I can just share with you guys now as well. It's a studying path for myself again. Improving myself in my. Okay, there's a gap that I need to fill this year. And what I did immediately, so I never leave sight of a goal without taking immediate action toward it. My mentor, like Anthony Robbins, that's his saying, never leave sight of a goal without taking immediate action. And the immediate action I took toward that goal was registering myself for this advancement in my technical field. And that's what I plan to enact this year as well. So it's a thing. And I've given myself, once again, a specific, and there are multiple mini modules along the way complete to get to that target. So that's the second, the basic.
I also have a similar. I also have a similar avenue that I would like to explore in my technical field as well. But I was thinking about two different things. One is, like you say, studying further, but the other side is to actually take what you're doing and improve what you're doing in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do on a daily basis, right? But also finding a way of improving that to give yourself more time to do other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's about efficiency at the end of the day, right? For that, you want to be able to maximize the amount of time that you use to forward to your forward pass. Remember, you mentioned that while you're waiting for things to render at work, you would just pick up your phone and have a quick Sudoku or something like that.
No,
But
it's not Sudoku.
No, I know it's not Sudoku. I mean, Sudoku was the only thing that came to my mind. Unfortunately,
dumb games. Okay.
out of all the things, Sudoku came to my mind. I mean, it could be Subway Surfer. It could, Fortnite. I don't know. It could be something. But you decided that little time, however little it could be, from 5 minutes to an hour, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You decided that I could use that 5 minutes better.
Yeah, sure.
For yourself. So, as we make these plans and we have specific deadlines and things like that. So, how do you go the distance? What keeps you driving forward? What keeps you on that path, no matter what it is? Like, you can make the plans, you can make the mini goals, the mini targets, and like that. But what's going to keep you, on that path?
Focus.
Yeah, focus, Stephen.
Dean, you want to go first?
The thing that keeps me going is when I structure these things, it needs to be something that I can see is achievable in a given space of time. So there's, I don't know, it's almost tangible in a sense. Like it's there, it's right there. You just have to do it. So like actually doing the little blocks is not that difficult. And if you just keep your head down and you lay one brick above the other, eventually you'll have a wall. That's kind of the approach I'm taking.
So like seeing is believing. So seeing you do that first thing.
It's not even seeing is believing. It's not worrying about, like, seeing is believing is great and it works for a lot of people. But it's not about seeing is believing. It's just about doing the little things. Just break it up into small tasks and forget about the end result. Just do the small tasks, because an earlier version of yourself worked out that if you do all these small things, you'll get the big thing. And you need to trust that earlier version of yourself, that they're not, on crack and they know what they're talking about. So just keep your head down and do the little things. That's all you need to do. It's just, that's where your focus is. Focus on the small thing all the time. And eventually you'll complete all the small things. And when you eventually look up, you'll have the big thing.
Okay, so then so doing those little things build upon themselves, and then you get to the big thing. But then how do you think then does discipline and consistency play into this thing? Like, for example, discipline, consistency, and habit, for example, play into this whole thing. Because on bad days, you might have bad days, and discipline or habit are going to get you through, if not anything else.
100%. That's true. You do need a level of discipline, and you need to have formed a habit of completing tasks. But make the small tasks achievable, so that even if you're having a really day, it's not gonna end your whole world if you do one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
So do something that'll help you, progress towards that. So even if you're tired, even if you're really run down, there is always something small you can do to contribute towards the larger goal. So even if you have to substitute Tuesday's activity for Thursday's activity or something like that, but just make sure you do one of the small things.
Is it the same for you, Prash? Do you use discipline, habit, or, will you use discipline, habit, pull those disciplines in yourself to go the distance?
I use partly what Dean is saying, but also I include another form of drive, which is competition. In myself, I've noticed a long time ago that I work really, really well under two scenarios. And the best way I operate is one, under pressure, because I'm a massive procrastinator. So I will not do anything until there's pressure. Literally, it could be anything. I will not do anything until there's pressure. If there's no pressure, I'll look at it and be like, looks okay. And the other one is competition. whether it's with myself or another person. So I agree with Dean 100%. You need to break it down and you need to habit form, and you need to swap where you think you can't do it today, do it another day. That makes perfect sense to me. But habit forming and drive and motivation are the key items. And as much as we say that motivation isn't a thing, and it's habit forming, motivation is your kickstart, right? And your kickstart needs to come from somewhere. And for me, that's competition and pressure. Without competition and pressure, even if it's, I'm not even saying, when I say competition, I'm not saying I'm looking at somebody else and saying they're better than me, which sometimes I do use that because I find that it kicks me in gear. If I see somebody else doing something and I'll be like, why can't I do that? You know, I want to do that, right? And that drives me. But also competition with myself. How bad was I yesterday and how good can I be today? If it's training, for example, like could I eat better than I did yesterday? Could I train better than I did yesterday? And for me, if I do that, I find that it's like adding 1% a day. You know, if you look back at the end of the year, you have 37%, whatever it is. I don't know. I didn't work the math up, but there's something. I think there was something, like that. But it's that idea. I have that idea in my mind because I truly believe that competition, whether it's with yourself or with somebody else or whatever it is a major driving force. You get 200% from somebody that you usually get 100% out of if you turn on the fire in the right way. And everybody has their own push buttons, but I found that for myself, I can honestly run harder in any aspect of life if I involve things like pressure, competition, um, and habit forming um, in myself, because it's just the monotony that needs to be killed is done with habit, but the drive that comes to develop the habit is from competition and pressure, and that's how I operate. I found that that works best for me. But obviously, it doesn't work for everybody. Some people prefer to be self-driven. Some people prefer the standard. I do X amount per day, and I'll get to the, and that works for some people. Like Dean, that works perfectly for him because he knows it's measured. This is the amount of energy that I need to spend and can spend. For me, I've got energy, but if it's not put through a bottleneck, nothing happens to it.
You have to be activated in the right way.
Yeah, exactly. And I found personally for me that activates me.
I mean, diamonds are built under pressure, you know. So
Yeah, it's not good with diamonds, but yeah.
no, I get your motivation, what's behind you, and in that particular thing. I mean, it'll be different for the listeners, what their drive is.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, it could even be emotional, it could be mental, it could be wanting just to get out of the particular rut they're in.
Yeah. But remember, what I was saying is to get to where Dean's level is, right? So you have to put yourself in that scenario where you're coming out of procrastination and then you're forcing yourself to do something to get into a habit where the X amount of energy you're spending per day is to get to the big thing. You understand?
Yes.
So the idea is to create the habit. But to create the habit as a personal person that's a procrastinator, I'll tell you right now, without pressure, you ain't going to get shit.
And so you have to build that pressure within yourself, right?
Yeah,
Like you said.
I guarantee it, 100% guarantee it. You will not get anything out of anybody that's a procrastinator unless you put them under some form of pressure. Without a catalyst, you'll never get a habit.
True.
What is that initial catalyst for you? For me, it's competition. I must have competition
within yourself, right?
Yeah. Even no, look, I use competition in any way I see fit. Competition with me and against other people. People say that it's so bad to look at other people and compare yourself to other people.
Right.
It's wrong if you do it and then you don't understand the implications, right? But if you understand the implications and then understand the bigger picture, then you can use competition to your advantage, right? Because okay, listen, what do you do? Half of everything that you do is in competition with somebody else. Almost everything that you're doing, right? The bed that you have, the car that you have, the house that you have. Like he was talking about cars earlier, right? You don't buy all those cars unless you're looking. In some form of it is internal, but some form of it is external, right?
No, I would say the reason I was choosing those particular cars was purely internal. They all have very specific things that I want.
Some part of it is external.
None of it's
right?
external. I can tell you now.
For Dean, none of it's external.
I can tell you 100% none of it's external because a lot of people wouldn't choose these cars.
Personally, I don't believe that, right? But that's me, right?
I can explain it if you like.
No. You have your reasons. You believe it's internal, that's great. I want to believe that it's external because that's my view of the world, right? So I view the world that way, and it works for me because I use competition in that manner, right? And I found that it helps me because I know at the end of the day when I look at the big picture, I'll be like, okay, so what? I didn't beat that guy, whatever it is. I'm happy with myself, right? But it created that catalyst to create the habit because just like you, Yash, once I have the habit, once the habit is formed, right, then the X amount of energy that you need to do the small things to get to the big thing, like Dean is saying, is there.
Yeah.
And that's the goal.
Okay. So, how do you guys hold yourselves accountable? So you built your things, you've built the pressure within yourself, but how do you hold yourself accountable for doing a particular thing?
Gonna find out this year.
We'll know soon enough. This is going to sound super weird, but bear with me. But have a conversation with your future self. And if your future self is disappointed, then you need to sort yourself out. If your future self is happy, then you're doing well. You're essentially holding yourself accountable, but in a really weird way.
I mean, remember, it's you that's being affected anyway. So
exactly.
I don't think it's weird at all. And projecting, I guess you might be projecting your future self's views now. Like if they are really affected by it, then it's something that's really important and it needs to get done, and it needs to get high up on the priority list and a lot more effort into it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that if you talk to them, like if you ask them what their regrets are, they'll go, I wish I did this, right? Think of it this way, right? If you're sitting now, do you want 6 months from now version of yourself to go, I wish you did this? No. So you can mitigate that by starting now. You know, like Dean in 6 months' time, I don't want him to be like, dude, why didn't you start when you said you were going to start? Because if you started then and you did things consistently for 6 months, you would be like here. And I'd be like, you were right. But I don't want to have that conversation with myself in 6 months, so I'm having it now.
So let me give you an example. What holding myself accountable is for me. Let's just say I'm coming up on a particular target and it doesn't look like I'm going to make it. I sit down and I have a book in front of me and I'm like, okay, what led me here? And the only thing that can lead you there really is yourself.
True.
You know, you're the one who led yourself there. And what along the way could I have done better? And at what path or what point did it actually deviate from the timeline? Let's just say, you know. And then you go back and you look at yourself and say, okay, cool. I acknowledge that I could have done this better, and I shouldn't have done X, Y, and Z, which deviated the timeline. And I'm not going to do that in the future. So it's having, like Dean says, honest conversation with yourself. But for me, it's written, and I look at things in the back to say, what went wrong, and how can I not do that in the future again? You know, I document it so I have a reference.
I think that's massively important because a lot of people seem to think accountability means punishment. But sometimes accountability is taking responsibility for what went wrong and making sure there's corrective measures in place.
Yeah, correct. I mean, you can't always say external factors force you into a corner. You know, there's always opportunity to. There's four corners of a box, basically. You know, so you can't always be forced into that one corner. And you decide to go there.
Situation's always salvageable.
Yes, 100%. With a positive.
In most cases.
I mean, in most cases, yes. But I mean, you know, with our conversations in the past, any negative for me, I don't really negative light. We always say as well that it's opportunity for learning. So holding myself accountable is just a means for for me to learn from things and move myself forward once again.
So it's like a lessons learned.
Yes. Yeah.
But also, what you're doing is you're being kind to yourself. So yes, I've made a mistake, but how did I make the mistake? But also, how am I learning from that mistake? And why? This is why I'm never going to make that mistake again.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's productive accountability, because I think accountability means different things to people. And like I said earlier, some people seem to think it means punishment. It doesn't have to. It means correction.
Shame.
Yeah, shame.
Honestly, how would you punish yourself anyway? Okay, you are going to eat that entire tub of ice cream now as punishment.
That's not punishment.
To me, it is.
But diabetes you get from it will be.
Yeah, I know. You can't really. You're not going to give yourself 10 slashes across the back for not meeting a target. Let's be realistic here. You're not going to do that. Self-deprecating.
No, but some people. But it will be self-deprecation. They'll beat themselves up about it. They'll feel guilty. They'll feel bad. Their self-worth starts to drop. And the minute that starts happening, that's a problem. But instead of beating yourself up, look at what you did wrong and take steps to correct it. I think it's much healthier. Like, I love what you're doing. It's way healthier than.
Yeah. So that's I guess that's my process, and that's how we're gonna hold ourselves accountable. But good, I mean, your way will be, so you can tell us about it. I think 6 months. We can revisit it.
Everything I've said.
Voyage of discovery, let's just say.
Everything I've said so far is literally me saying, yes, I'm doing it this way, but also I'm gonna learn throughout the year whether it works or not.
Yeah, I'm in a similar position. Project management method. You don't know which way it's gonna go.
What I'm using now is everything that I have, all the mental facets that I've developed this far is going to be used to fuel the rest of this year. And the habit forming and the stuff that I've said is all the stuff that I know, but that could all change in 6 months. In 6 months' time, I could say Dean was 100% right. Or in 6 months' time, I could say the only way to do it is Yasha's way, because Yasha's way removes all thought from process and you just follow a routine structure, right? But the only way to know that is to do it, right?
I mean, that 100% leads on to my next question, which is.
But before you do that, I really do want to reiterate Dean's point. What you do is probably it's so important that you be kind to yourself when you haven't completed a goal. Yes, you can feel bad about it, right? Because naturally that'll happen. But you be kind to yourself and ask yourself the question as to why you didn't get there, what stopped you, but also learn from that lesson. And I think I'd like to reiterate Dean's point. It's so important that you do that. It makes a lot of sense.
And by the way, I also reward myself every month. So I like shopping. I love fashion.
No, you see, you can't do that now. You can't reward yourself but not punish yourself.
No.
He holds himself accountable. So that his definition is still being met.
Remember the weight on the reward of getting something is the feeling I always want to feel, which means I'm driving for that feeling. He's driving toward that.
Priming dopamine and then
charging. So it's like a reward system. So I'm building myself up. You don't make
target, you still do need some form of lashing.
The lashings is when he sits down and lashes the words of what he did wrong.
No. I think that I think as kids we were always like, if you didn't do something right, something got taken away.
Yeah.
Right. I think that sort of that it's not the fear of it, but I think the fear of you not reaching your goal should be that thing.
Because you're not reaching your goal is something getting taken away.
Right? And that I think is the punishment. That is the way you should view the punishment. Not to say that you don't you cut out your series watching time or whatever it is. But rather the punishment should be you not achieving your goal should actually have an impact of
a very large impact on you.
Right. That's what I'm saying is the punishment.
I mean, you decided to undertake this thing in the first place, which means it has some level of importance in your life.
Yeah.
And something that has a high level of importance and you're not making strides toward it, it should leave you feeling a bit maybe.
Well, naturally it will, right? You've been working at it for so long, so
yeah, feeling a bit weird.
Yeah.
So I also get that point. So okay, so moving on to the next one. You mentioned that maybe down the line some things might not work for you. So my question is, you need to be kind of agile,
Yeah.
and if it's not going to work, then what? What's that? Then what?
Oh yeah, I learned that lesson from pizza making.
Yeah.
And no, but it's not only that. I think you like Yash and I studied together, right? Just for some background, but I think we learned. I learned with him that when you do something and you want to achieve a specific target, right? It's just like Edison said, although we don't like Edison so much.
He's a thief.
He's a thief bastard, right? But
Wow.
but it's so important that if you have a goal, it's not about the way you're choosing now or the path that you're choosing now. You try 100 different pathways to get to the path that you want. So if it's like with the pizza thing, I tried literally 100 different things that I could think of, and I tweaked it 100 different ways to get to the to. I still tweak it, right? Because sometimes I find that if it's a hotter day or if I know I'm going into winter, I have to tweak it a little bit more to get to the right solution. But if you keep tweaking, right, you'll understand and learn what works better. And it's the same thing with your goals. For me, anyway, you gotta keep at it until you find a pathway that's the easiest route to get there, right?
Yeah.
And then if that work doesn't work, then you try a different one. But if you don't keep trying and you stop, that is where you've actually failed your goal. Whether you reach the goal or not, for me, at the end of the day, after a whole year of you doing something to get to a specific goal, whether you reach the goal or not is not. It's if you gave up, that's where you didn't. That's where you didn't get there, right? And that's where you'll find that your biggest disappointment is. So keep going and keep trying different things to get to the same point because you picked that goal for a reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the most important thing. So to answer your question, just if you find that you're not getting there, right? Try a different tact. Try something else because eventually it'll open, right? However you try to open the jar, you try 10 different things, and then the last guy comes along and opens it, right? That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people kind of get stuck at that first hurdle as well.
Yeah.
It will be that mental block. But once you get over that first hurdle, like you're saying, you'll have 10 more methods that you can try.
Yeah, that's the way I see it personally.
Yeah.
I think people get caught up, and I don't know if it's I don't know where it comes from. Like people always say, like the first step is the most important. The first step doesn't mean anything, honestly. Like you can fumble and fall flat on your face on the first step. As you keep going, that's actually what makes all the difference. Like people to put too much emphasis on the first. It doesn't. The first step doesn't matter. Just get moving, right? Because it's actually the second, third, and fourth steps where your momentum is built. That's where it matters.
Mm.
Just start. You just need the first one.
So what's your then what then? Do you think that it's the same as what Gucci's saying? Just keep changing it up.
At this age, we've all learned that you must always make room for a shitstorm because there's always one on every horizon. It doesn't matter whether it's career, love life, fitness. There will always be something that will come in and shake your world. Life happens while you're making plans. Was it John Lennon that said that? Or was it Paul McCartney? Which one? One of the two. My dad would shout at me for not knowing this. But life happens while you're busy making plans. That's the truth. And we're talking about, things that you want to achieve this year. These are plans. But life is going to happen whether you like it or not in between. So always leave enough room for yourself to recover a situation. So don't jam pack your day from minute 1 to the time you go to bed. Okay, Yash does because he's amazing at this, right? He's grandmaster level. But the rest of us, leave room for a little bit of shit somewhere in between the day so that you can recover. And if there's no shitstorm that day, then guess what? You get to be a little bit more productive.
You'll have I feel like I'm going to have 1 productive day and 5 non-productive days.
But that's okay. I mean, what's wrong
more
with
than
that?
you were. As long as it's more than what you were doing last year.
No. I'm happy with that, but I feel like that's how it's going to go because, I feel like sometimes I overfill and then I have to cut.
I don't do I don't know. Let's like for most of my life, if I look at work, like big projects, I don't do a little bit every day. I was never like that. I would either like I would procrastinate and then just do like a shitload in the last week, or I would do a shitload up front and then dick about for the rest of the time. But I like doing things in big blocks. So I'm changing that with other parts of my life where I'm trying small blocks now and seeing how that goes.
Okay. Well, we're
Something
gonna
new.
learn, right?
Yeah,
of
we are
course.
gonna learn. Yeah, like come June, either I'm gonna be really pissed at myself or really happy.
Maybe reevaluate in March. Then don't give me
No, there's still
I mean,
too many things I need to do before then.
You'll know very
Yeah.
quickly if things
It's
are working or not working.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
quickly, you'll know.
Define
also
very
have-
quickly because it's been 2 weeks and I don't know yet.
2 weeks is a small time, but I think after 2 or 3 months.
But he did say
you'll know.
very quickly. That's why I said define very.
No, I mean,
Well,
are
look,
you
if-
actually so okay? So let's just say you have a specific plan, right? You said you have the mini targets, you have the mini goals and whatever. You'll know within these 2 weeks how many of them you've actually. Have you managed to hit 10% of them? That means it's not working. Have you managed to hit more than 50%? That means it's somewhat working.
Yeah.
So you'll know very quickly because remember you said you have this project yourself, and if it's a detailed project plan, you're marking off or you're ticking as you go along. And honestly, 2 weeks as well, even though it's 2 weeks, you'll know within that time if you need to adjust.
I suppose.
Dean, you're the one with the project plan. You should know. Not suppose.
No, I mean I know I know what I've ticked off. That's not the problem. It's whether or not this thing will work 6 months down the line or not. Like logic dictates that it should,
Yeah. Yes.
right? Because I mean we've all seen our projects work. Logic dictates that it should work.
Yes.
But we shall see.
Okay.
But that's the fun of doing it, right? Because
Yes,
It's just a journey along the way. You just don't know.
it's also good that you said I'm gonna
Exactly.
reevaluate at June, because if you reevaluate at June and you see, oh, I'm only 50% of the way, then you know, okay, this is a whole year thing. But if you reevaluate at June and I'm only 10% there, then maybe the elephant was too big to eat in 1 year.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, just say that again. The elephant was?
Too big
Too
to
big
eat in
to
1
eat
year.
in 1 year.
Oh, okay.
What did you hear?
No, sorry, I just didn't catch that.
It was too big to
I
eat.
heard something about the elephant was too big for 1 ear. I was like, what? Yeah? How does that make sense?
Maybe it had a big ear.
True. A Dumbo-sized ear.
Yeah.
Oh well, okay. So I mean, we've covered a fair amount in this session. Is there anything else that you think we've missed out? Because we covered planning, we've covered how to actually do one, we've covered holding yourself accountable, agile, how to actually not discipline yourself, get focused. Yeah, hold yourself accountable. Get focused on what to choose, how to choose it, what the method. Is there anything
Being
else
realistic.
that you think being realistic?
Yeah, we've covered
Is
that.
there anything else that you think we to
I think
speak about?
the best thing to do is maybe give people examples of areas that they could look into that they may not have thought about. So one is like family, one is like your friends, right? One is like your career. I mean, we spoke about career, which is quite a big thing.
Oh yeah.
One is
Health.
finance. Yeah, health. Health is a big one. And health is probably what 90% of the people are going to have on the first thing on their list. And the 1st of January, right?
I'm a body.
I'm a body. And then financial independence, I think, is one of them.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's something that's very important that not everybody thinks about straight away. They all
That's
think
a big
about money.
one.
I want more money. But you should look at it as, what steps do I need to take this year to become more financially independent? Right? Then there's also the other side of it is hobbies. What are my hobbies? And how do I grow my hobbies? Because like I was talking to somebody at work the other day, and they're like, it was like, I'm on leave. So I'm like, why are you calling me while you're on leave? It's like, I had nothing else to do. I'm like, bro, you need a hobby. Right?
Wow. He calls you.
He had nothing else to do, so he called me for a work question. I'm like, dude, you're on leave. What's the point of taking leave if you're going to call me and ask me a work question? right? Then cancel your leave and save it. He's like, I
Maybe he
had
just
nothing else.
wanted to talk to you, Kuch.
No, it was a work question. When we were done with the work question, he hung up, right? So,
Maybe he felt awkward to have the personal conversation.
no, I mean, we have personal conversations all the time. It didn't
Kuch
feel
has
like
an
that.
admirer at work.
No, man. Okay,
No.
so my point is that have a hobby, right? Even if it's just one, right? But then drive the hobby. Hobbies are one of those things where if you have a hobby for a while and you finish it, because you can finish a hobby. Trust me, you can finish a hobby, right? And then you can move on to the next one, find another hobby. Because sometimes hobbies are just passing phases. You like to, I
Very
don't know,
true.
build puzzles. You like to do paintings. You don't have to do them for the rest of your life. You don't have to pick a hobby that you have for the rest of your life. You can pick a hobby that you have for 2 months, right? But have a hobby. So those are the types of things that I think are areas that you can focus on: friends, relationship.
I mean, another two, I guess, is mental well-being and emotional.
Yeah,
Very
being-
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have to take a look at your life and see what gaps you think can be filled in.
yeah. But I'm just giving
Yourself.
ideas because sometimes people don't
Oh,
see
yeah,
them.
yeah. No. I mean, they'll have, like you said, just a narrow,
Yeah.
just the typical things, money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Dean, would you like to add anything else?
Not to that, but I would like to just talk about rewards for a minute because I think we glossed over that very quickly. It's something that I don't do very well.
Right.
Well, tell me, just explain your process.
So I choose something that is a tangible reward, not just so it's not just an emotional one where I say to myself, hey Yash. So I look at, so whenever I do something right, or I meet a target, I go to this might seem weird, maybe. I do go to the mirror and I fist bump, like physically fist bump myself. My fist meets the mirror. And I say to myself, well, congrats, Yash, you've hit another target. So, let's keep going. Let's keep moving forward. So that's the one emotional and mental thing that I do for myself, whenever I want to congratulate myself. And the second thing that I do is because I like, as I mentioned before, fashionable things. I like to look good and whatever. I reward the target with a day out of shopping, and that's it for me. So it's it's like holding a carrot at the end of a stick, for a donkey or a horse, sort of thing. When the donkey crosses the finish line, you give it the carrot. And that's what I have for myself. I know if I complete a target at the end of the day, I get a day out with myself to do whatever I want to. So that's the rewards thing for me. Now it can be anything for you, honestly. Like can be an ice cream for yourself. Can be, honestly anything. New piece of tech. Go watch a movie. Go do something. But I think the reward thing is an important thing because it's that carrot dangling at the end of the stick for yourself.
It is. Look, I think it's massively important.
To get there, yeah.
And for people that maybe don't understand the carrot and the stick metaphor, I mean, the reward, what it does is it releases a chemical in your brain called dopamine, right? And dopamine is something that's very responsible for your survival. And a lot of people, I mean, you hear the term dopamine detox a lot around social media and stuff, but that's unhealthy. Constantly spamming your brain with dopamine, and then eventually you end up having a crash and your motivation drops. But what you're doing, Yash, I think is really, really important. Something that I don't do very well and I need to get better at. Maybe I should add this to my list. But understanding how to structure a goal with a reward at the end so that you can get an appropriate dopamine response from that. And I think, that dopamine really is a make or break chemical. People underestimate it. But
I mean, you want a good balance of it, right? You don't want to be over flooded, like you said, with dopamine. You want a good balance of it, and there have been failures last year, which is fine, and there was lacking rewards, but that's okay as well, So for me, I like the feeling of the reward, which it's one of the drivers to why I move forward with all my plans. It's not the driving thing, don't get me wrong. I'm not
that's
all
true.
all about spending money and shopping days and things like that. I'm not all about that. But it's something an extra piece of motivation besides me moving forward in life.
I think
Which
that's
is
something that should also look at, and it's that look at all the things you normally you enjoy doing or you like doing, or that's a little bit costly or something like that, and look at it as rewards that you can structure and bake into your goals, and then structure your life that way. You might get more out of it.
Yeah, agreed. All
Guess
right.
that's it for me.
Yeah. Anything else, guys?
No, that's it for me.
I was just thinking about how
Mm.
the response is in terms of reward, because I personally would say that wouldn't reaching the target itself,
Be a reward enough.
because I would set
Mm.
out, what I've done is I've tried to set out the goals that I have as the reward.
Mm-hmm.
No, there are, but for doing the little things that lead to the goal,
Yeah.
your checkpoints, like like if you meet all your checkpoints, at each checkpoint you get a small, and then when you complete the race, that's the main end. That's the prize giving. You get the main thing.
Okay. I never thought of adding like sub rewards to
Neither
the
did
goal.
I. So I've got all these little blocks here, but I don't have little rewards. Actually, I'm gonna rework this. Thanks, Yash. I'm gonna go back and add small, like chocolates, cheesecake, those things.
Yep. It can be any little thing that's your guilty pleasure. For me, it's fashion stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
See what you mean.
To you listeners, thank you so much for listening in to our rambles at times. And we hope you gain some value that you can use in your life. So this is your bro code signing off. Have a powerful day. Until next time, cheers.